Okay, so we're going to talk about two things. I'm going to start, I guess, I don't know which one to start with. Okay, I think I'm going to start with the hace. And then we'll do some stem changers. So this still relates to the past. Oh, shoot. I the wrong thing. Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know what you want me to say because you guys are supposed to be in here. So, I mean, you have to do what you have to do, but I can't be like, yay, go to the counselor. Like, you're not supposed to schedule it in the middle of our class. So, but okay. So I'm gonna go ahead, just be as like quiet as you can when you leave. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace? To ask how long ago an action or event occurred, we use ¿cuánto tiempo hace que? And then we list like whatever it is that you did in the preterit tense. So ¿cuánto tiempo hace que comiste en Don Pancho? How long ago did you eat at Don Pancho? And to respond, you can do it two ways. You can say, I mean, you can see it better down here. So the red goes with this one and the green goes with this one. So you can say hace and then give the time phrase and then que and then list what you did. So hace 2 semanas que comí allí. Or you could say comí allí hace 2 semanas. So if you mention how long ago you did it first, then you're going to have a que before you mention the activity that you did in the past. And if you mention what you did first, then you don't have a K. Oh, that's okay. We don't, I mean, you don't need to get, I mean, it's fine. Thank you. Okay, so that's, let me see what, and so then we have practice with it. So if you'll pull up the cuánto tiempo hace practice, actually, let's see here. I just realized I was on. Okay, so I'm just going to show you this, and I might have this again in the practice, but I figure it might help if I show you this. So, ¿cuánto tiempo hace que estás casada? And again, you can sometimes use it in the present or in the past. It depends on whether you're saying how long ago you did something or for like, for how long something has been going on. So in this case, it's like, how long have you been married as opposed to how long ago did you get married? Okay, so if I want to say the time phrase first, like, you know, I've been married for 10 years, then you put hace, and then you have to have a K before the verb, okay? Because the verb is over here. So if the verb is after you mention the time, you're going to have a K. But here it says, ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que conociste a tu esposo? Like, how long has it been since you met your husband? Well, I met him 13 years ago because the time phrase is over here and the verb is in front. So if the verb comes second, you need a K. If the verb comes first, you just need hace. Okay. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que ustedes compraron su casa? So how long ago was it that you bought your house? We bought it 10 years ago. Again, the verb is right here in front. And so I put hace without a K. And then this one asks you, this one asks you, ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que tú y tu familia viven aquí en Caracas? So for how long have you and your family been living here in Caracas? Because I mentioned the verb second, right? Then I have to have hace and que. Hace 12 años que, whoops. Que vivimos aquí. And here, ¿cuánto tiempo hace que trabajas en esa compañía? For how long have you worked for this company? I've been working here for 10 years. Again, because your verb came second, you have to put a K. You have the hace in front of your time period, but then you have a K before the verb. Okay, so does that make sense that if you mention the verb before your hacer, for a go. If you mention the verb first, you don't have a K, but if you mention the verb second, you're gonna have a K before the verb. So hace 10 años que estoy casada, lo conocí hace 13 años. And so I did give you practice. And like I said, some of it may be the same. I can't remember. So pull up the cuánto tiempo hace. Well, cuánto, it's supposed to be cuánto. Okay, so it gives you it gives you that page that we talked about, and then you can just go through there. And if you have two blanks, put a comma between your answers. And there's some problems. Hold on a minute. All right, let me fix that one, but just go through here and complete your answers, and then we'll check it, and then I'll give you, then we'll go over the other things. So I'm gonna go in and fix it. I'll give you like 5 minutes. Okay, you've got 5 minutes, and I'll tell you when you can refresh. Okay, so you can go ahead and hit refresh. Okay. So basically you're writing hace or hace que. So you're just practicing when you use hace and when you use hace que. Okay, you've got about 2 minutes left and we'll go over this. Okay, you got about 1 more minute left. Okay. So let's go ahead and check these really quickly. So remember, you're basically filling in hace que. So ¿cuánto tiempo hace que comiste en un restaurante nuevo? If you want to say you did that, it's been 2 days since you ate at a restaurant. What do I need to put in there? What do I need to put in there? What needs to go around my dos días to say that I did this 2 days ago? Okay, I need someone to participate, or I'm gonna make you guys turn it in and I'm gonna make it a grade. Well, now we're trying. What do we put there? Hace in front of the DS, and then what goes behind it? Okay, so remember that when we want to say that we did something so many days ago, if we mention the verb second, we have to have a K before the verb. Okay, but here, ¿cuánto tiempo hace que preparaste una comida por tu propia cuenta? Preparé una comida blank días. Here we have the verb first, so we just need what right here? Hace. So that's how we're saying I prepared a food 3 days ago. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que aprendiste a aprender tu plato preferido? Aprendí a preparar, that should have been preparar, a mi plato preferido blank un año. What should we put in there? Hace. So it's saying like I learned to prepare my favorite dish a year ago. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que un amigo te invitó a su casa a comer? Blank, una semana un amigo me invitó a su casa a comer. What do I need here? Hace and K, right? So if the verb comes second, we have to have a K before we get to the verb. So hace una semana que un amigo me invitó a su casa a comer. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que probaste el café por primera vez? Probé el café por primera vez. What do I put there? Hace 2 semanas. So I tried coffee for the first time 2 weeks ago. Same thing here. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que, and this one I'll go ahead and skip because this is the one we just did together. Okay, so does everybody understand what you're doing with hace? And you use it to say ago, right? So this is all saying like, where am I? I ate at a restaurant 2 days ago. I prepared a food 3 days ago. I learned how to prepare my favorite dish a year ago. A week ago, a friend invited me to their house to eat. I tried coffee for the first time 2 weeks ago. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to move on beyond there and pull up your stem changing verbs. Okay. So remember how when I told you before, when we learned stem changers and they made a change, and we called them like the boot verbs because the change happened everywhere but in nosotros and vosotros. I tried to tell you at that point to kind of remember that that was only for present tense. Now we're talking about the preterit, and the way they change is a little bit different. So you can see that, like, here's some examples. Pedir means to ask for, preferir to prefer. When he says, ¿Qué plato pidió? Like, what did you order? And she says, prefirió el arroz con pollo. I actually don't really know what they're saying because he's saying like, what dish did you ask for? And she's saying, she or he preferred el arroz con pollo instead of talking in the first person. So maybe they're talking about the little girl, like what dish did you order? And then she's answering for the little girl. Oh, she preferred the arroz con pollo. But either way, the point is when it got conjugated, your preferir had an E in the stem and it went to an I. And your pedir did the same thing and had an E in the stem that went to the I. So we're getting ready to talk about that. These are your regular preterite endings. So when we're dealing with stem changers, oh my gosh, I never even realized there's like a whole bunch of water over here. Okay, well, we'll just try to avoid the wet. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it leaked or if a bottle fell. Anyway, when we're dealing with stem changers, just like in the present tense, when we're dealing with the past tense, they're irregular because we're messing with the stems, but the endings we use are the same. So if it's an AR stem changer, which I think all the stem changers are IR verbs, so you're going to use these blue endings. But you use the right ending. You don't do anything with the ending. You're using these guys. Okay. These guys get called, you remember the present tense, we called them boot verbs because the change happened everywhere but nosotros and vosotros. These guys get called sandal verbs because the change only happens in third person, well, second person formal and third person singular and plural. So like right here, it's just for usted, ella, ustedes, ellos, ellas. The change does not happen for yo, tú, nosotros, or vosotros. Okay, so you can see, we'll do it as an example. Okay, so I don't know, you know what? Oh, can you see that? Yeah, you can see it. Okay, on my end, it looks a little light. I might, no, I'll leave it. Okay, so when we're dealing, we've got two types. The way that they change is from either an E to an I or an O to U. And I think for the O to U's, it's going to be dormir and morir. And I don't even think your book went over morir, which means to die. It just gave you dormir. So most of the ones that you're going to look at are like are E to I's, like pedir. Okay. And the way that these guys work, because they are regular, I mean, the way that they're irregular is their stems. You do take the endings. These are both IR verbs, so they take those blue endings. And then this is the original stem of pedir, to ask for. But it's an E to I stem changer. So sometimes we use the regular stem, and sometimes we're going to take that E and make it an I, and that gives us our irregular stem. And so if I'm just dealing with pedir, I use that regular stem wherever it's yellow. So I use my regular stem here, and that's how I say, when I'm at McDonald's, I order a hamburger or ask for a hamburger. You ask for a hamburger. But when I go to formal you and I want to ask for a hamburger, or I want to say that he or she asked for a hamburger, that's when I switch to my change stem. But when I go back to at McDonald's, we ask for a hamburger. It's the original stem. When I want to say y'all in Spain ask for a hamburger, I go back to the original stem. But when I want to say y'all everywhere else, or they ask for a hamburger, that's when I go back to my change stem. Okay, so you're using your regular stem, the stem that it comes with, for yo, tú, nosotros, and vosotros, and you use your change stem for usted, él, ella, ustedes, ellos, ellas. Same thing happens with dormir, which means to sleep. So if I want to say, you know, I slept 8 hours last night, sometimes I'm going to use that regular stem, but it's also an O to U. So my change stem is where I take that O and make it a U. And when I want to say that I slept 8 hours last night, I'm going to use my regular stem. When I want to say you slept 8 hours last night, also the regular stem. When I want to say you formal or he slept 8 hours or she slept 8 hours last night, that's when I go to my change stem. When I want to say we slept 8 hours last night, I go back to my original. When I want to say y'all slept 8 hours last night and you're in Spain, my original. But when I want to say y'all slept 8 hours last night and we're anywhere else other than Spain, I'm going to use the changed. And when I want to say they slept 8 hours last night, it's also going to be the changed. Does that make sense what's happening? So whenever there's stem changers, you're going to change some vowel in the stem. Sometimes use the regular, sometimes use the changed. And like I said before, we're using regular for yo, to, nosotros y vosotros, change for usted, él, ella, ustedes, ellos, ellas. Does that make sense? Okay. And so if you said, that's just another way to visually represent it, because I told you that there's sandal verbs. So if you do it where you have, you know, first person, you have the singulars all over here and the plurals all over here, you'll see that the change only happens on the bottom. It doesn't happen for yo and tú or for nosotros and vosotros. Okay. All right, so stem changing verbs, they're stem changing IR verbs in the present also change in the preterite. So all of those ones that were that were IR verbs that were stem changers in the present are also in the preterite, but they just change potentially differently. Like it shows you repetir and dormir. We've already been over dormir and pedir. What else is there? Okay, so here's a list of other ones. I told you before that I think your book only gave you dormir. The other one would be morir, but it gave you medir, preferir, repetir, seguir, sentir, and servir. Want to see if, so here they are. I thought I would have a. So you can see that these are their stems. So they all go with these blue endings, and you're going to use their yellow stems for yo, tú, nosotros, vosotros. And we're going to use their orange stems for usted, ella, ustedes, ellos, ellas. So these are all E to I's. Oh, and then it does have a reader down there. So these are all E to I's. So this is their regular stem. It's the way it came, and E. PREFER, REPET, SEGU. So this is its regular stem, DORM, MOR, and its change stem is doing what it tells you to do. It's changing from an E to an I. And notice that in the parentheses, like it's got this black and then it has the red. The one on the left that's in black up here is how it changes in the present tense. The red one or the one on the right is how it changes in the preterite. So we're focused on the red change because we're dealing with the past, not the present. So medir, so med, mid, fair, prefer, repet, repeat, steg, sieg, sent, serve, seer, ped, peed, dorm, durm, or, mur. Does that make sense what it's doing? Okay. Okay, so you can see it again, like medir, that you have the regular stem is MED, the change stem is MID. You use your regular stem here and here, and your change stem here and here. So all of them will work like that. Okay, so there's another set. And these guys change in the same way, but there's actually a reason why they change. So it might be a little easier to see. So I'm going to show you. Okay, so took too much away. Okay, so if you remember, Spanish doesn't really like having multiple vowels next to each other. It really, really doesn't like having three. Okay, so two you can get away with sometimes, three is a no-go. So again, with these guys, you're going to be, hold on, let me fix this. This is driving me nuts. I don't know why that, there we go. You know what? I think that actually could go here. There, that's a little better. Okay. So with these guys, these are the endings because it's an ER verb. Remember, ERs and IRs get the same ending. And if I take my stem, it's that LE. So I'm going to stick that LE in front of all of these. Okay. And you'll notice that when I get down to usted, ella, and ustedes, ellos, ellas, I'm going to go ahead and make these blue. It's this blue. That I have a problem because if you look up above, you have two vowels, EI, 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 but when you're doing here, And here you have E-I-O, E-I, E-I-E. 3 vowels. They don't like having 3 vowels next to each other. So when you end up with that, you change that I to a Y. And that's how you get rid of having 3 vowels. And also you add extra accent marks just so the vowel says its name. So like these I's, like this I right here is going to get accented. Where am I? So just so that, because it's 2 vowels next to each other and we want the vowel to say its own name, the I's all get accented. So whenever you have 3 vowels, except for seguir has 3 vowels, but the U is silent. So you don't treat it as if it's 3 vowels, we treat it like it's 2. But whenever you end up with the 3 vowels next to each other, you're going to change your I to a Y so that you now have a consonant, right? This is easier to say. Le-i-o is hard to say, but le-yo is easier to say. So it goes le-i, le-iste, le-yo, leímos, leísteis, leyeron. Does that make sense? Okay, and you can see it again. Oír does the same thing. Okay, so you can see the same thing. Here are your ER, IR endings. This is an IR verb. We would use that. The stem is an O. So I put an O in front of all of these. Okay, and again, I don't have a problem here. 2 vowels, but here and here I end up with 3 vowels. So because it's 3 vowels, we got to change that I to a Y. So we're going to make that I a Y. And same thing down here. And then you want to go back and make those I's accented so they say their name and they don't become a blend with the O. Okay, so you can see becomes oí, oíste, oyó, oímos, oísteis, oyeron. Does that make sense? So creer is another one. I'll just show it to you. I won't redo it, but you can see again, because you would have an I here, an I here, an I here, and an I here. So we change that I to a Y, and then we add those accent marks so that the E doesn't overpower the I, that says its own name. So creer becomes creí, creíste, creyó, creímos, creísteis, creyeron. And I just wanted to point out for seguir, because if you look at seguir, it has the 3 vowels, but remember the U is silent, so that's why it doesn't, that doesn't become a Y here or here, because the U is silent, it treats it as if they were 2. And also it happens to be to an E to I stem changer, so seguir is seguí, seguiste, siguió, we've got that S-I-G. Seguimos, seguisteis, siguieron. So U is silent, and that's why we don't make the change. Okay, so let's do practice. So if you pull up your stem changing practice, I put in the endings for the preterite tense. And then below that are the rules for the stem changers and a list of some of the stem changers. Okay, so just go through and you conjugate the verb in the preterite tense for whoever the subject is. So for example, here it's dormir, right? and it's for one. But if I go back dormir right here, if it's for he, it makes that change. So it becomes dormio. Okay. So you're going to do that. And just remember, like, if it has a reflexive pronoun, just stick it in front and change it if need be. So that's what you're doing there. And I think it's the same for each one. It's just different activities, but you're basically doing the same thing where you're conjugating the verb. Okay. So what time do we have? I'll give you, and you all of these. We'll try to do as much as we can. I'm going to give you like 7 minutes to work on this and get through as many as you can. This one's a listening activity. And I don't know, maybe we'll start there. So do as much as you can. But we may start with the listening because we have to do that one together. And then we'll just do as many as we can. And then you can practice on your own as well. So you've got 7 minutes and then we'll check them. Okay, you've got about 4 minutes left. You got about 2 minutes left. Okay. We got about 20 seconds left. Okay, so look at the one that has the listening. It said it's highlighted 6:30. Because we need to do that one together, so we'll just do it together. Basically it says you're gonna be asked a question. You're gonna use the verb, like the verb that's in the question to answer. Okay, so the first one, I'll let it play through, and then what we hear is what's written above. So then we'll go back and talk about it after you've heard each one.
6:30. Las preguntas del esposo de la esposa. 1. ¿Le sirvió Pablo la comida al perro? 2. ¿Qué prefirió desayunar esta mañana Laura? 3. ¿Qué preferiste desayunar tú? 4. ¿Pidieron pizza anoche Pablo y sus amigos? 5. ¿Repitió Pablo sus quehaceres? 6. ¿Seguiste bien la receta para este plan?
Okay, so if we're doing this, if it says, le sirvió Pablo la comida al perro. Oh, puta, it's not spelled right. Hold on. I'm just fixing the spelling. Okay, hit refresh. It should fix it now. Okay, so if it says, le sirvió Pablo la comida al perro, it's asking if Pablo served food or gave food to the dog. So then the husband answers yes. Who ended up giving the food to the dog? Pablo. Are we going to change the verb or will it be the same? It's going to be the same, because if I'm saying, did Pablo serve the dog? And you're saying, yes, Pablo served the dog, it's the same. Okay. ¿Qué prefirió desayunar esta mañana Laura? I want to know what Laura preferred to eat for breakfast. So then the husband says, Laura preferred to eat cereal for breakfast. If we're asking what did Laura prefer to eat, and then the husband's answering back, Laura preferred, do we need to change the verb that time either? No, same subject, same verb. But what about here? ¿Qué preferiste desayunar tú? Now I want to know, the wife is asking the husband, what would you prefer to eat for breakfast? When he answers back about eating, who's gonna be preferring to eat eggs with ham? I mean, if I say, what would you prefer to eat for breakfast? And he responds back, or what did you prefer to eat for breakfast? Right? So how do you change that verb for I? What do we do to it if it's I preferred? What's going to happen to that verb? Preferí, yeah. Okay, pidieron pizza anoche Pablo y sus amigos. So the wife's asking, did Pablo and his friends, did they order pizza? And then the husband's saying, no, who didn't order pizza? Pablo and his friends. So is the verb going to change? No, same thing. And then repitió Pablo sus quehaceres. So she's like, did he do his chores again? And then the husband answers back, yeah, he did his chores again. Do we need to change the verb there? No, same subject. We're still talking about Pablo. And then seguiste bien la receta para esta flan. This time, if we've got iste, we're saying, did you follow the directions for this, or the recipe for this flan? If he answers back, he's saying, who followed them? Who? If I say, did you follow directions? Did you follow the recipe to make this flan? You would answer back saying, yes, what? I did. So if we have seguir and it's an IR verb, what do I need to add to it to say that I did it? You need an I, yeah. So we replace that iste with an E. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's go back to the top because I'm assuming you started there, and let's just try to do a couple of these before you leave. So for example, here, if we have sentirse and it's he who felt nervous, we're going to move that say in front. What do we add on the end of our verb for he? So if I go back up here, if it's an IR verb, what do I add for he? IO, right? Here, maybe make it a little bigger too. And then what about leer? If he is doing the reading, what are we supposed to add on the end of an ER verb for he? What do we add? If it's an ER verb, here's your ERs for he. Here's he. What do we add? IO. O is if it's an AR verb. Now, this one though is leer, right? So if I add an IO, I end up with how many vowels next to each other? If it's EIO, how many? 3. When you have 3, are you allowed? You can't do that. You got to change it to what? We change the I to a what? Like right here, when you end up with the 3 vowels next to each other, actually, you can see it. You're supposed to change your I to a Y. So when you end up with the 3 vowels like this, unless it's seguir where the U is silent, you have to change that Y, that I to a Y. And then your O gets accented, I think. Okay. Después Juan say, you know what? Hold on. I think I was writing that wrong anyway. Yeah, it was supposed to be the O accent all along. I did that wrong anyway. So here, when we have seguir, what would you add if it's Juan who's doing this activity? Seguir is an E to I stem changer. So if it's, well, first off, what ending would we add for he if it's an I or a verb? If it's an I or verb, you're supposed to add what? I-O. And it happens to be a stem changer, so it becomes I-O. But because it's for he, remember that we always make our stem changes in the usted, el, ella, ustedes, ellos, ellas form. So that stem, that E becomes an I. Whoops, I'm forgetting my U. Siguió. Does that make sense? So, and like this one, I'll just do this one. It would be the same, right? But because it's third person, because it's he, the stem change happens. The E becomes an I. So you're gonna have to memorize which one of them. So like there's a list up here. Actually, the list is probably better in the notes. I know you guys gotta go. I'm gonna let you go. Their list. There's a list in here. Here. So this is slide 11. And then I don't remember, a little further down, you have the Y, the ones that change from an I to a Y. But for this list, you're going to have to memorize, you know, what these guys, their regular stem is and what their change stem is. And then just know that the change happens for usted, el, ella, ustedes, ellos, ellas. Does that make sense? Okay. So then you guys are free to go and I will see you on Monday. No, I won't. We're on spring break. So I know you guys probably have high school classes. We're on spring break. I won't see you like a week from Monday. So not this Monday, but the next Monday is when you come back. Okay. No classes for GTCC.